Here we go.
Wait.
Oh, boy.
No, never mind. No, wait. There was something actually.
You done complaining?
No,
Can
but
we
you
do
can
the show now?
you can start anyway.
Here we go. Today is Monday, April 11th, 2016, and this is episode 156 of the Defensive Security Podcast. My name is Jerry Bow, and joining me tonight, as always, is Mr. Andrew Callett.
Hello, Jerry. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
I think my headphones got a ransomware. Hang on.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll just pay the Bitcoin so we can continue.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
How are you?
Hear the cha-ching?
We need a soundboard for that kind of thing.
Yep.
We're not that fancy, apparently.
Oh, well.
And how are you?
I'm doing awesome.
I heard your spawn escaped China.
Yeah, they let him out. I can't believe it.
I'm sure he came back with all sorts of APTs.
He yes. He does have a watch that has Chairman Mao waving.
That's compromising everything with Bluetooth in range.
It's hilarious. Yeah. Absolutely. We've lined his room with aluminum foil. So, although we did that a couple years ago.
I was going to say that. I thought that was a pre-existing condition, but okay.
Anyway, by the way, the thoughts and opinions we express on this podcast are ours and do not represent those of our employers. But I will say he had a great time and took some really great pictures. So.
Yeah, one of these days I wouldn't mind going to China. I mean, it's not on the top of my list, but I think it'd be pretty interesting.
He got to go to the Great Wall, and it was absolutely beautiful. So, really nice. Anyway, we have some interesting stories for tonight. The first of which, the big news this past week, of course, was the Panama Papers. Although, unlike every other news outlet, we are not going to talk about the political angle. We're going to talk about stealing 2.6 terabytes of data. I mean, that is the data loss equivalent of like the Exxon Valdez and the BP Gulf oil spill all rolled into one.
You'd have to really think about the logistics of that one. My Dropbox won't handle that. You'd have to really,
Well, I think they said it took years. And this story comes from Wired, and the title is "The Security Flaws at the Heart of the Panama Papers." And I think at one point in here, I can't find the exact quote, but they basically said it took years to transfer the data.
Wow.
So it was.
So this is the funny part. Like, let's say you're monitoring your network, you're baselining for performance, right? You're baselining and they're already doing it.
Yeah.
It just looks like normal outbound traffic.
Yeah, it's been going on for at least the last year. It's got to be normal.
Yeah, this is ugly.
So,
ugly.
So 11.5 million documents were part of what was stolen from this law firm, and the law firm's name is Mossack Fonseca.
Can I just say I'm really, really sorry for all the interns that had to go look through all this crap when it hit the press outlets.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. That's a lot of data, but the long and the short of it from a data perspective, there's apparently this particular law firm apparently was in the business of setting up offshore companies, some of which appeared to be legitimate, others of which may have been less legitimate, for the purposes of lots of different reasons. Some of them good reasons, some of them probably not so good reasons. Anyway, the law firms like this often have lots of information about financial transactions and whatnot. And anyway, that's apparently what happened here and what was stolen. So there's something like 200,000 different companies set up by this law firm which had their
214,488
well, there you go. Yes.
to be exact.
I mean, but once you get to 200,000 shell companies, does it really make sense to even keep counting?
True. That's true.
So
that's a lot of broken shells right there.
yeah. So anyway, there is a lot of analysis going on, and most of it is speculation about how this happened, and so apparently. There was some speculation again about let's see, trying to get my story straight. This particular company had well, I know one of the big, really crazy pieces of news, which I think was a little overblown, was that their web server and their email server were on the same logical network, which, it's not the most serious problem I've ever seen.
Those monsters.
I know. Well, here we go. So Mossack Fonseca's webmail system, which runs Microsoft Outlook Web Access, was last updated in 2009, while its main website runs a version of WordPress that is 3 months out of date.
Which is actually fairly impressive, by the way, to have only 3 months out of date WordPress. It's actually not that bad.
That's true. And their client information portal, which I assume is where most of these documents came from, was running Drupal, which, by the way, is the world's most popular remote access tool.
It's true.
Had the version they were running had 25 vulnerabilities, including a high-risk SQL injection vulnerability. The thing that strikes me, by the way, is 2.6 terabytes is a lot of data to keep online, because some of this data apparently goes back to 1970. So,
I mean, to be fair, drive space is cheap.
I suppose.
Yeah, I'm sure these are on server class boxes and such, but drive space is cheap. Also, if this data leak was going on over a period of years, who knows how much of this rotated in and out?
That's a really good point. Yeah, I did like that they pointed out that Mossack Fonseca's web client portal was vulnerable to the drone attack, because that's the most serious thing they have going on. Yes.
Look, the editor was really happy that they used that in context. So
Damn it, we're gonna find a way to use it.
Well, yeah. I mean, they also mentioned that there was 25 vulns found on Drupal, including SQL injection vulnerability. That's probably what would burn them. Also, not just a SQL injection vulnerability, but exposed to the world.
Yeah.
So, they do some speculation later if this was targeted. Was this a drive-by? Was this, a matter of just sort of stumbling upon this? There are tons of people out there scanning all day long for websites that have open SQL injection vulnerabilities. Just hitting every open TCP port out there looking for websites, and then testing to see if they've got vulnerabilities like this. So it's entirely possible somebody's just trolling for websites, stumbled upon this, and then went, holy camole, what did we find?
Yeah. There's even an allegation that it could have been a nation state who was unhappy about the tax haven situation. But I will say, you bring up a good point. That I have worked on some incidents before where web servers had been compromised, and it had not just been compromised once. It actually had been compromised like 8 or 9 or 10 times. It was really hard to. At some point, you kind of lose track, and you can actually see them trying to kick each other out, and they're basically like fighting over territory.
Playing King of the Hill on the Pwn server.
That's right. And so, who knows? This sounds like it was pretty well hosed. Interestingly, obviously they say they run Outlook Web Access. It's not clear to me if their main web server was also running on Windows or not. But again, I'm gonna bet that all that crap was hooked up to Active Directory, and so once they got on one system, they probably had, complete access to anything that was in their network and was reachable from those systems. I've seen that before. It is really brutally ugly.
Indeed.
So
It's interesting too when you look at this OA saying, "Oh, it hasn't been updated since 2009." We don't know that that had anything to do with the problem, actually. First off, now, mind you, yes, you should patch, and please, for the love of God, patch the stuff on the edge. But also looking at the screenshot of the OA Outlook Web Access, it looks like they were doing straight single-factor auth with their domain credentials. So domain, username, password. So not even doing any sort of two-factor auth, at least from the screenshot. That's probably a bad idea for stuff on the edge.
yeah, it's probably running Windows 2003.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. Um,
Oh,
but yeah, you're right. There is. This is one of those situations, and we have another one coming up in a minute, where unless you're actually really in the thick of the forensics, it's very difficult to tell exactly how they got in. It's like, well, there's 100 doors open, and they could have come in through any one of them. So difficult to say. And by the way, this is one of the emergent problems with defending networks these days, is that the initial entry point has become kind of abstracted out of the equation. It's attackers have lots of different avenues in, and so each in my mind, what's happening is each layer of the intrusion is becoming its own abstraction layer. So the initial point of infection or intrusion is could be phishing, could be SQLI, could be RFI, could be LFI, whatever, and then there's a subsequent lateral movement, and it's all abstracted. It doesn't matter. It could have any one of these things may have been patched and not been vulnerable, and the same outcome could have happened.
yeah, absolutely. It's perhaps more data will come out, but I think everybody's busy chewing through this.
Like more than 2.6 terabytes.
Can I make a completely random observation?
Sure.
So this is a Wired article, and throughout it, you've got little highlighted words that allow you to, go to other random articles about that sort of thing. So like Panama Papers and Drown Attack and client information portal and vulnerabilities and Outlook Web Access,
Change
WordPress.
log. Yep.
Right. Then you get really deep in the article, and they decided that email was a word worth referencing all other articles on email in wired.co.uk.
If you are in SEO, that makes a ton of sense.
I just thought that was silly.
Well,
To have email be a keyword you're going to go.
you're not in marketing. You don't get it. You just don't get it.
That's the truth. I'm nowhere near marketing. I'm anti-marketing.
So,
Okay, that's all.
moving on to our next story. This one comes from sfgate.com, and the title is "Hackers Broke into Hospitals Despite Software Flaw Warnings." Yikes. So this is the story about MedStar Health, which operates a network of hospitals. I believe it's in the DC area. And I don't know exactly how many hospitals there were out, but all of the hospitals in this network, apparently for a period of time, were unable to use their computer systems because, well, apparently their domain controllers and some other systems had been cryptolockered or cryptolocker. I by the way, since I'm getting old, CryptoLocker is kind of like Kleenexes to tissue, right? So when I say CryptoLocker, I mean ransomware. Sorry. Get over it.
Nothing but pure accuracy and the height of journalistic integrity.
So this CryptoLocker was SamSam, right? See what I did there?
Are you just stuttering now?
Yeah, no. SamSam is the name of the ransomware, which apparently is known to use a pretty well-known JBoss vulnerability to get in. And so apparently MedStar had been running a vulnerable version of JBoss, and I know a number of other organizations have had the same problem, including a friend of ours, by the way, has been wrestling with a very bad SamSam infection. I'll tell you about that later. And Anyway, the point of the story here is that everybody and their dog has been warning about this really significant and severe JBoss vulnerability since 2007, and apparently didn't get updated. The problem, I think, in my experience, just taking off my security hat, putting on my IT hat, it some of these legacy applications become very difficult and expensive to update. The person who wrote it is long gone. By the way, I don't know that's the case here, right? But this is a very common story that plays out all the damn time.
No, I completely agree. People who are paid for uptime get very cautious about changing or touching something.
Right.
And, they really, really are afraid of it. We've seen that at a lot of organizations, especially saw an organization that had a bunch of stuff that was out of support, hadn't been under support for 10 years. So they weren't getting patches. There were no patches being made, but they really were afraid to touch it because it was part of critical infrastructure for the organization. And they didn't have any folks still there who built it. So they weren't quite sure how it all worked. So you really take a huge risk when you let stuff atrophy to the point where you're afraid to touch it.
Yeah. I will say one of my sincere hopes, as much as I make fun of Agile and DevOps and all the newfangled stuff the kids are coming up with these days, my hope is that we see a bit of a reversal. That some of these legacy applications become less monolithic and more maintainable as a result. But I think we'll see.
I don't know. I see we have a systemic issue with patching over and over and over and over again. And almost every organization I've spent any time in as a consultant, as a sales engineer, as an employee, they have all struggled with patching. And I wonder if we just need to fundamentally do something different in terms of patching. But, you're always balancing that uptime. You're always balancing that risk of breaking something with a patch. And we look at through the lens of security. So we have a singular lens at times. And sometimes it's the wrong way to look at it. But we have the singular lens of, why didn't they just patch their stuff?
Yeah.
What's wrong with these people? Come on, this is basic 101 stuff. But if it's so basic and 101, why do we continually have this problem over and over and over again? Either this is too complex, and we've got far too many people running this gear who don't have the skill set or the time or the energy or the focus, or they're wearing 20 different hats in the organization. And as bad as it sounds, maybe we need more gear that's self-service. As much as people bitch and complain about Windows 10 patching, there's something to that from a security standpoint. It's going to solve some of those problems, but it's going to introduce other problems. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was interestingly, in the InfoSec community, we both see people complaining about the forced march to Windows 10, and we also bemoan the recent report about millions of users are still running Windows XP, and both at the same time. But back on point here. One of the JBoss being the component that it is, it's the kind of underpinning of usually a lot of custom written code, or maybe it's canned code that you've bought and then customized from someone else. My experience has been that stuff has a shelf life, and at some point, either the people who wrote it and maintain it are gone, or it becomes a non-strategic application. And when you as an organization have decided that, hey, you know what, we're this thing that runs on top of JBoss, I'm not exactly sure what this application even was in the case of MedStar. When you decide that application is not strategic, and you're moving, you've got all of your marbles in the basket of developing some new application, you don't want to go and spend hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars to have to rewrite something that would enable you to run on a later version of JBoss, for instance. I don't know with JBoss, I'm not exactly sure how complicated the upgrade path is. I mean, maybe you don't have to rewrite anything, but I know in other cases, like with Oracle Financials and PeopleSoft, it is not a trivial thing. If you want if you want to upgrade, it is brutal. And
It is, but I don't mean to be harsh about this, but this is what you sign up for if you start running this gear. Now, you may not be aware of that. You may not understand that. You may go in with all good intentions. Who knows who's building and running this IT stuff? It could be somebody who's got 13 other things going on, or he's one IT guy spread incredibly thin. But I understand. I'm just saying stuff that's been said 1,000 times.
but keep in mind that it's probably been there so long that it's not even the same people.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So when you say that it's what you signed up for,
Well, the organization.
yeah, yes,
But if I take a step back and put my libertarian hat on, hey, they paid the price for it, right?
well, absolutely.
Right? So, so this show is about how do we avoid the same fate. And as boring and as crappy as it is, I think good patch management and good lifestyle, sorry, good, good management of the age of your systems, the supportability of your systems, getting rid of boxes that are no longer under support, goes a long way towards that. And making sure all the gear you're running is still under support.
Yep.
And sometimes this means not running the latest, coolest, homegrown, hand-spun gear, because that's the other problem we run into is these people build stuff and then the guy who builds it leaves. There is something to be said for running something in its industry standard that somebody else can pick up and actually have a clue about what's going on.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think there's two contra problems to that. Number one is, especially with these business applications, my experience has been that every organization goes into one of those applications saying, "Oh, we're gonna use it out of the box so that we can just upgrade," and they never do, right? Because there's always something, and then once you start to unravel the sweater, the whole damn thing falls apart, and you now have a completely customized solution. And then the other is that even if you buy something that's canned and use it completely canned, like let's say Windows XP, at some point they're gonna stop using it too.
Well, that comes back to the life cycle.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest here. I don't have a lot of sympathy for an organization that gets caught by surprise by end of life of an operating system. That's just poor maturity in the organization. Now, it's incredibly common, so maybe my expectations are too high, but we should be better than this. You shouldn't be still getting rid of Windows 2003 servers in your environment if you're on top of stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair enough. All right, so moving on to our next story, which comes from Ars Technica, also about ransomware, and the title is "OK Panic: Newly Evolved Ransomware is Bad News for Everyone." So this story basically is the clean your pants out and go back up your data, because the world has changed, and I like how they point out something, that in the past, attackers who have wanted to monetize network intrusions have had to work pretty hard. They've had to go looking for things that were saleable. And so this paradigm is completely different. It's very fast and simple and easy. And so we're seeing a very swift growth in both the number of attacks and the number of different apparent actors who are involved in this with different types of things. Whether you're talking about CryptoLocker or SamSam or Petya, which, by the way, is kind of harkens back to really old school master boot record stuff. So anyway, I think that the takeaway from this particular article is that the economics have changed in a really difficult way for us as defenders, and we've got to get on uh, with accepting the new reality. And if we don't, we're going to be buying some bitcoins.
Yeah, I agree. This is one that we see coming, and we really need to get ahead of this one, I think. And it's a challenge, even in the organizations I talk to all the time. It's one of those. Well, we haven't gotten hit by it yet. Clearly, our controls are working. Or everyone wants the easy button of, what sort of software can I load to stop ransomware? Well, the problem is the exploit vector is highly varied.
Yeah, I mean, there are some that are very, the
Yeah,
different.
they're systematic right now and they're predictable right now,
Yeah,
but
right.
they can easily pivot into another vector.
Right. One, I think what we're seeing a lot of what appears to be learning, right? So between the different variants, and so for instance, SamSam is it's pretty insidious in that it uses a lot of different tools in order to compromise a Windows network. I mean, it actually goes after file servers and domain controllers and higher value things, and so it has bundled with it tools, like Mimikatz. It's got Mimikatz bundled into it, and stuff like that. So it's that
Yeah, and they're going to get stronger.
right,
This is a typical arms race. This is now a new evolution, a new front, and I think we're seeing the beginning of this cycle.
right.
And I think it's going to get a lot worse. And I think organizations really need to have a very serious discussion about this because it's easily direct monetization, and it is too appealing to the bad guys not to go after this.
That I think that's the real crux of the problem is how easy it is to monetize.
Yeah.
And just in the broad availability of attack tools. I mean, from an attack perspective, nothing about this is complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is very well worn territory. Antivirus evasion, getting your stuff in the door is trivial. We've been complaining about that for a very, very long time. Command and control facilities are very easy. The only thing that's really been a problem for these guys has been, and it continues to be a problem, is implementing the crypto badly.
Right.
But
Which, again, with toolkits and other
right,
exploit kits being built, we don't even need to have very smart criminals out there. They just have to go buy a kit and run it.
exactly.
And they're getting better. This is sort of the next evolution of spam in my mind. Spam had a click-through rate of 1%, but it was enough to be monetized and people made money off it, so they kept doing it. This is a very, very, very similar thought process in my mind. Spray and pray is much CryptoLocker, which a much, much higher success rate.
Yeah. Yep. And so the
Sorry, no, I'm using CryptoLocker generically. Look what you've done.
I know
You
there's
ruined me.
there's now 8,000 people running around calling it CryptoLocker. That's awesome. The last story we have is actually also related, and it's titled "Sysadmins We Need to Talk." It's from the Offensive Security blog, and this one basically goes through a pretty good enumeration of different tactics to hopefully avoid being captured by CryptoLocker. Did it again. By the way, I was thinking of Martin today because he posted a comment about how all the cybersecurity vendors now are suddenly experts at defending hospitals against CryptoLocker or ransomware.
Of course.
And
And if
solution,
you only ran their Blinky box, you wouldn't have these problems.
yeah, but my solution is much simpler. Bitcoin ATMs in the lobbies of all the hospitals. Done. How easy is that? You don't have to change anything. You don't have to change any user behavior. You don't have to buy any Blinky boxes.
So really what you're saying is that we should just build into our budgets much like a refresh rate on our software, an annual license fee, we should just build in a ransomware license fee into our budgets and just be done with it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no.
You know, I I do wonder, just to play out a ridiculous thought for a second. You know, you have to think that at some point, the as shady groups around the world become more and more aware of the opportunity to get money out of ransomware, you can expect organized crime and other even less, you know, good groups like terrorists to start getting in there. And I do wonder at some point if we run into a problem of people paying bitcoins to terrorists to get back grandma's pictures, and then do you end up on the watch list, or do you end up being prosecuted for financing terrorism?
I see a reality TV show in the making.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway,
Something else that occurred to me. So what if we've got so many different organizations doing ransomware that eventually they're competing with each other in the same victim machine?
ooh,
Like,
yeah.
you know what? Bob from Russia wants 8 bitcoins to unlock your photos. Tell you what, I'll do it for 7.5. What do you say? And then Bob will come back and say, no, 6.5. Right? And terrible accent.
You,
But,
you're,
then,
you're bartering for
right. So how low can you go? And then it becomes a buyer's market.
I think it'd be more likely that that a competing entity would crypto locker the decryption key.
Oh man! So now you got multiple
So
layers.
so now you got to pay, in order to get,
Man,
in order to pay to unlock your files,
just
you
think.
have.
The next time you go to enter the office, you swipe your badge, and sorry, this badge reader's been ransomwared. Please insert 25 cents to enter building. Right? I give up. We're done. Turn off the internet.
It was
This
fun.
is
It was fun
this
while
is
it lasted, wasn't it?
this is just the perfect expression of monetizing a hack. It's so direct. It's so this is going to be with us for a long, long time.
There's really no great mitigation. That's the that's no painless great mitigation. I mean, there are good mitigations like application whitelisting, things like that, but they're all painful, right? It's a trade-off.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's often a trade-off that no one's willing to make until after they get their crap crypto-lockered, and then it's too late. And now you're paying all kinds of bitcoins you could use to buy your Bit9 licenses. So anyway, so in this post, they talk about a couple of different things like filtering email. They point out that that a really popular avenue for things like Locky is Microsoft Office documents, and they come in as the perennial invoice or something like that. And when you open it up, it's it has a high security feature that you have to run the macro in order to see the content. And by the way, it the malicious content actually isn't in that file. All that file contains is a macro that goes out and downloads the actual ransomware that then runs on your system. So they talk about blocking Office documents, JavaScript files, zip and RAR files, filtering countries. So if you don't have any, for instance, need to talk with China or Romania or Ukraine, you might want to block both their top-level domains and net blocks originating from their those countries, and improving your spam protection, because a lot of this stuff is is actually using spam techniques. Good deal. And then the other one, which I thought was pretty good advice, is blocking the generic TLDs. The .infos.
Yeah, we've seen some other research that some of these new TLDs are like 80% hostile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? There's no reason your folks need, and for an enterprise organization, I'm a big fan of blocking a lot of crap they don't need to be going to, like countries and tuple domains. I've worked with some organizations using OpenDNS, the enterprise version of OpenDNS, which I think is actually pretty good. They're not paying us to say that. I just think it's a decent service, and you can do things like, if I don't know this domain, I don't need to be talking to it at a DNS level.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense. The problem, of course, the trade-off is that, on the off chance your one of your employees can't get their horoscope delivered in the morning, Lord help you, because that's world ending right there.
That's a Sev1 outage, if you ask me.
Yeah, I have had
we joke until an executive has that problem.
I had a problem with an executive who could not get their horoscope once.
Yeah.
It was very bad.
Today's horoscope says that you're not getting much done at work.
It's very bad. Defending your servers. They talk about software restriction policies. Don't let things run out of the temp directory. I'm not sure why they put this in under the defend your servers category, because that's kind of a workstation thing.
Not necessarily. Temp directories absolutely exist on Windows servers.
Well, let me say it this way. If
Right.
you are operating your server in such a way that people are running programs, in the context of a user frequently, you have bigger problems than software restriction policies.
Well, okay, yes, but we all have to start somewhere.
Yeah. I'm just saying, don't browse the internet and check your email from your file server. Bad idea. You're gonna have a bad day.
Okay, but think, if you will, the picture, you already get some ransomware into your environment, and it pivots onto your one of your servers and drops in the temp directory to execute.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not there.
Fine. I understand that my thought leading is sometimes too forward leading for your thought to keep up with.
Clearly, that's what's going on here. Yep. They talk about monitoring file server resources. So looking for lots of activity. They actually had a couple of things. Also monitoring for excessive file handles. Right. So you could think that a CryptoLocker type ransomware that's encrypting thousands of files has probably got lots of file handles open, and you can actually detect that and then shut it down. The thing that I see as a problem with that is that if if your files are being crypto locked across the network through a mapped drive on the file server proper, you're just going to see that shown up as as a actual legitimate file server resource. So
and then your organization starts rolling out full disk encryption without telling you, and
true. That's true.
Well, that's usually done at a drive. Anyway, that was a stupid comment. Forget I said that.
I have to tell you, and I was thinking about this in the context of the Panama Papers thing, if they had just been unlucky enough to have fallen for some ransomware, they could have avoided all of this embarrassment, because the only thing that would have leaked would have been encrypted files. But,
So full disk encryption as a service.
Yeah. I mean,
We've noticed your files run encrypted, which is dangerous, so we encrypted them for you.
It reminds me back of the joke back in the Dick Cheney days about the subpoena speed shredder.
Was that before or after he shot you in the face?
That was after. So defend your endpoints, antivirus, because everybody knows antivirus will catch your CryptoLocker. Patching, definitely have to patch, because, by the way, I think one of the big news articles in the past week was there was a big Adobe Flash, yet again, vulnerability that was being used to distribute, guess what? Ransomware. There you go.
Flash is the devil.
There you go.
Every time I hit something and it says Flash is required to use this, my soul dies just a little more.
Yep.
Can't we please just all agree? No.
No.
And what really bothers me is like brand new services like Periscope or something live streaming on some Facebook service or whatnot is currently being built in Flash. I'm like, stop!
Don't you kids have Node.js or something? Can't you use that?
You know, in my day, we did an assembler and we liked it.
That's right. That's right. We could do everything with the marquee tag. Right. Removing local admin privileges from your workstations, which, by the way, I will tell you, in first-hand experience, will not often help prevent your files from being cryptolocked. So, although if you do remove admin rights and implement the software restriction policies to prevent execution out of temp, that actually is a pretty good mitigation. But you will piss off your users. I will tell you that.
I do that every time I walk in the building, so what's new?
DNS, you mentioned OpenDNS. They actually have a recommendation to use something like OpenDNS.
Hey, you skipped over the Fish Your Users recommendation.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I did skip over that. You're right.
Because we haven't ranted around that for a couple of decades.
I did skip over that one. You're right.
Yeah, carry on.
Block Tor and also block I2P while you're at it. No good reason for you to have that. But
okay,
if you do,
how often have we seen Tor ever have anything to do with ransomware ever?
Quite lately, fairly often.
What, for CNC maybe?
Yes,
Outbound
absolutely.
CNC, okay.
Right.
That's fair.
Yep. That's the only reason, right?
So it doesn't block the initial compromise, it blocks the download and the CNC callback.
Correct.
Okay, that's fair.
Correct. And by the way, if you want to, if you kind of want to have some good G2 on what the heck's going on in your network, look for stuff that's trying to talk Tor outbound. You'll that's a good source of threat intelligence on your network. Backing up your data. God damn it. Why do people not back up their data?
Because my IT group's taking care of that, right? No, this is a legitimate problem, actually, that I keep thinking about. So servers get backed up, but what about desktops? What about laptops?
If only there were 8,000 goddamn services out there.
I know, but how many people use them in a corporate environment? Everyone, you know why? Because in corporate environments, they say, well, just put it on your shared drive. And how many people actually consistently do that well? And when an executive doesn't do it, because I'm sure they don't, and their box gets crypto locked, and they've got no backups of their vital files, they were just working on their flight home from Spokane, you got a problem.
Well, that's true.
Run some local version of, a corporate version of Carbonite or Mozy or whatever your flavor is, but you should probably be doing incremental backups of critical files on your key folks' machines. If you want to do directors or VPs and above, fine. I don't know how big your organization is, but that's where you're going to get your pain.
Either that or my idea about the Bitcoin ATM, I think, is still a perfectly rational solution.
Let's just stop the show for a minute. You go do some research on Bitcoin, and then you come back and tell me why you're wrong.
No,
wait.
No, I'm right.
No,
I got it.
No,
I've thought it through.
That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
No, you see, the problem is we just need to make it much easier for the people who have had their files crypto-locked to get Bitcoins. That's all we need.
I think the blockchain in your head broke.
That could very well be. So anyway, this show has gone to hell in a handbasket.
Oh wait, were there anything else? Backups? What was that?
Yeah.
So here's the thing that I do want to say that I'm struggling with. All right, let's say in an average organization, you got your sysadmins, you got your security guys, you got your network guys, you got your server guys, you got your web guys. We in the security group are really good about talking about this stuff. We go, oh yeah, this all makes sense, right? But how do you take this and go to your sysadmin guys and go, you should do this? And they're like, dude, I got 73 open tickets and 38 servers to build and a bunch of fires going on. I don't got time for this random weird crap you're bringing me.
Mm-hmm.
This is a problem.
That's right, because you can do the Bitcoin ATM without involving your sysadmins whatsoever.
All right, you're right. We need to build a Blinky Box Bitcoin ATM and offer it as a service.
Yeah.
Certified ransomware free. Sticker
Yeah.
on the side.
Absolutely. I mean, you laugh. You laugh. I don't know what to say.
All I know is that there's a whole lot of vendors out there who've suddenly become experts in ransomware defense overnight. Just like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what's amazing is all they had to do was update their marketing collateral and boom, they're experts.
That's true.
Industry leading.
That's true. I have been on a number of webinars recently where, whatever name your company has shown us how their endpoint solution detected the latest version of Locky after after they detected the new version and then updated the signatures, right?
And the favorite part of those prezos that drives me absolutely batshit crazy is they spend the first 10 minutes telling me about the problem I already know about.
Yeah.
Why? Why do vendors do this? Why? Why do they waste everybody's time telling us all about the problem we already know about? Why are you setting the stage for a problem we already know exists? Are you somehow trying to demonstrate to me that you also understand the problem?
They could just
You're going to demonstrate that to me.
they could just spend more time on that Gartner slide, right? The Magic Quadrant.
Or the these are our other customers slide. Or the hey, this is our history slide. None of this matters to me at all if your technology sucks. I'll care about all of that after I see what it is your technology can do.
But who will want to see it unless...
And the funny part is, you try to explain this to most salespeople, and they lose their shit if you don't go through the slide deck in order.
Yeah.
I know I'm channeling some...
By the way, I'm
stress disorder.
so I'm reading a really interesting book right now. And speaking of this, and it's called Influence. It's written by a psychologist. And actually, the part I'm on right now is actually talking about this very thing, and it's called social proof. Basically, people don't have to prove something if they can tell you that a whole bunch of other people buy into it.
Sure, you look for validation from others.
And so it's not, I don't think that's an accidental strategy that they're doing that. But
no, it's absolutely purposeful. It just drives me batshit crazy.
Anyway.
You're not even going to ask what I'm reading. That's fine. No, go on.
Well, no, what are you reading?
I'm reading, thanks for asking. That's very kind of you. I'm reading a biography of the Wright brothers, which is actually kind of fascinating. And there are lots of stuff I didn't know about. None of it has any relevance to our show, but I just thought I would share.
Are you at the point where Orville got his arm cut off?
No.
Oh, I didn't want to... Oh.
Spoiler warning.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Anyway, that is the show for this week. Mercifully. Mercifully. Thank you very much for hanging with us for this long. We definitely appreciate you.
This is what happens when we record on a Monday when we're tired and hungry.
Yeah.
As opposed to Sundays when we're usually still pretty fresh.
Yep, and if you like the show, give us some love on iTunes. If you really did not like the show, don't go to iTunes.
And don't just use this show. Maybe check out a few others.
Other ones, yeah. Earlier. Like maybe 20 or so episodes earlier. They were good back then.
That's before we stopped phoning it in.
That's right.
We hadn't jumped the shark back then. We hadn't jumped the crypto locker back then.
You can find links to the stories we talked about on our website, www.defensivesecurity.org. And you can follow the show on Twitter at DefensiveSec. You can follow Mr. Calla on Twitter at Lurg, me on Twitter at MaliciousLink. And with that, we will talk again next week. Thank you much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right.
But we should do a show because you're standing in the way of dinner.
All right.
Because you were too busy on Sunday having a life.
Yeah. So in other news,
Yeah.
did you see my internet points?
That you're like
Yeah.
an influencer and shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I coveted your
Yeah.
internet points.
Yeah. Many people covet my internet points. Yep.
You suck. It's not fair. I'm taking my color commentary and going home. For someone who helped you get all these internet points, you could show me a little appreciation. So I don't mean to be all and shit, but did you forget who you're talking to? Because I think you did. Because I ain't your bitch. But, whatever. I made you. I can unmake you. I brought you into this podcasting world. Wait, no, I didn't.
No.
I brought you into the social media world. We gotta think more about monetization.
Mm-hmm. Pop-ups and pop-unders and banner ads and...
Yeah, I popped onto your mom.
Oh, man. Let's see, what else? What other innovations can we come up with? Like,
Pop nears.
Yeah.
Maybe it pops up on the next page you go to just to completely with you.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes. I wonder if there's a way to install ransomware with an MP3 file.
In a few more years, that would have them up against the wall.
Yep.
That will not be tolerated in our Trump presidency.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.